You're right. We're going with you now.
Good evening, students. I'm Mrs. Costa, and tonight we will be talking about ecosystems. I have a guided note taker for you. Please take a look at the materials I've distributed. This is your guided note taker. We will be identifying our objective. I'll go over this with you. Our main topic for the day is ecosystem. So our objective is to be able to define ecosystems, identify the parts of the ecosystem, and the relationships between those parts. I'd like you to use this guided note taker as an example. Sometimes in class we will have note takers so that you don't have to write as much, and sometimes we'll be studying new topics. And this is a good format, and I'd like for you to practice using this format. In science, especially environmental science, we'll be learning a lot of new topics and vocabulary. So when we have a main topic, the main topic can be the header on your note page. So you'll have a main topic, just like this part of the organizer. Ecosystems is your main topic, that could go all the way across. And then you'll have subcategories. In your subcategories, you'll have more detailed information that belongs in those categories. So this is one way to graphically represent a main topic with many subcategories and then further explanation of those categories. Are there any questions on how to organize your notes? This is a suggestion, and I believe that it's a good, useful one to use in this class. You can modify this to be more pertinent to your way of thinking. But this is a great model, and I'd like for you to practice using it. And once you're proficient, if you need to make some modifications, that's okay too. So today you have this one all prepared for you. And the first thing that we're going to do is some vocabulary. We're going to identify what is an ecosystem. Alyssa, would you please read to me the definition of ecosystem? You find it right here on the right side of your note taker.
An ecosystem is a community of different species interacting with one another in their non-living environment.
Excellent. Thank you, Alyssa. So does anyone have questions about what that is? Or questions about the words inside that definition? The way these words on the right are arranged is in order of the biggest thing to the smallest thing. Does that make sense? So we're going to begin with the biosphere, and we're going to go back up to the top of our page, the biosphere. Mike, could you please read me the definition of a biosphere?
The living skin of the earth where all living things reside and interact.
Excellent. Thanks, Mike. So the biosphere is like the skin. If you picture the earth as the skin of an apple, the biosphere would just be that thin skin portion. So what I'd like you to do next is to What I'd like you to do next is to go over the components of the ecosystem. Okay. So we talked about the ecosystem. It's a community of different species that interact with their environment. Alyssa told us that one. I'd like you to first turn to your neighbor and discuss the difference between an ecosystem and the biosphere. Can you do that? So,
the overall umbrella.
Including me, Kate.
Excellent. I heard a really good comment in your comparison discussion. We only have one biosphere, but there are several many, unlimited actually, number of ecosystems. So that was a great observation. Good work. Within every ecosystem, there are categories of items. There are biotic items, which means things that are alive. Abiotic items, which are things that are not alive, like rocks and sunshine. And processes. Processes are the ways these things interact with their environment. So let's go over what some of the living components of an ecosystem. There are some listed there, some general things right there on your note taker. So if you could please, somebody could come up with a specific example. So on your note taker it says animals. We're going to think about our local region. Can somebody name an animal from our local region?
Bear.
Bear, excellent. Bless you.
That's gonna be
Can
bumpy.
somebody please give me an example of an abiotic component of our local ecosystem? This one's a little more challenging. Something that's not alive.
Snow.
Excellent. Snow. And processes are the interactions. We'll deal more with this in the future. This is a complicated idea. But let's just try to think of an example of a process that occurs. That means an interaction that occurs in our ecosystem. It could be between bears and snow, or between some other living organism and the environment that they live in. Mike?
An animal eats food and then turns into soil. when they
Excellent.
Digest it.
Yes, digestion. We'll call that consumption. And later we'll get into a further discussion about the processes that are involved with consumption. So great, you all did a fantastic job. I think we have a good handle on what is an ecosystem, what are some of the components, some specific examples of the ecosystem. Does this strategy of taking notes make sense to you? Is this a good organizational outline for our information? So what I'd like you to do at the end of class today, for your journal entries, remember every day we write in our science journals because we're scientists and that's what we do. Put your name and your date at the top of your paper. For your journal entry at the end of class today, you'll have 5 minutes into the period to write your journals. I want you to note down whether or not we met our objective, right, that's on the top of the board. And I want you to be able to make a note on this effort scale. So you will write down in your notes. I'd like you to do this at the end of class each day. This just takes a minute. What kind of effort did you put in during our discussion? Were you listening and attentive? Did you answer questions? Did you think of questions? And did you use the note taker? So if you came to class today and you were really kind of half asleep and you were thinking about something else, your effort might be way down here. I would like for all of you to have your effort closer to number 5. Okay, so those of you who participated, answered questions, and took notes, give yourself a 5. At the end of the week, what I'd like you to do is we'll give some extra time for journaling on Fridays, and you can review each day of your effort scale. And over the course of the semester, you can check to see if there's a correlation between your effort and your grade on the quizzes and exams. Thank you.